Hi surfers, my name's Matt and I'm here today in beautiful Mexico with none other than former World Tour surfer and now converted foil fanatic and super coach, Jay Thompson. Hey Jay?
Thanks for having me here, Matthew.
Thanks
Good
so
to
much
be in
for coming down.
Carbo with you, buddy.
Mate, it's great to have you here. What we're doing today is going to do an informative video to try to take an absolute rookie foilboarder. Myself, I've never foil surfed before. And we're going to try to cut through a lot of the noise that we've read online and we've heard about how difficult it is to foil surf. And Super Coach Jay here is going to break down a lot of the questions you might have and what we need to do to learn as quickly and as safely as possible. So some of the questions we're going to go through are what type of board we're going to use, what type of foil is best, what type of things as surfers we are going to translate into being able to foil surf, and what things we need to completely disregard, what things are completely different. We'll also look at pumping, the stance, catching waves, how to wipe out, along with a bunch of other stuff. So first questions first, I'm looking at boards all over the place, model, and as a shortboarder, like I ride around about 26 to 30 litres on a shortboard, but I also love to mini mal and longboard when it's really small. So what type of board would be ideal for me to learn on? Are we starting big and soft like a learner surfer?
Yeah, so I guess the board you'd be looking for to start with would be the same as like when you're learning to surf, something a little bit bigger. Even if you're an okay surfer, you probably want something, you know, a couple of inches up, a little bit more girth, just to get that initial paddle speed into the wave. That's going to help you a lot with your pop-ups on it, just so it doesn't buck you off like really early, because you don't want to be caught up the top of the wave as you're paddling in the wave. So you've got a board with a lot of girth, you should be down the face nice and early, get to your feet and kind of avoid the board flipping over and avoid injury. So start big and then slowly work your way down, and you can actually go even a lot smaller than your regular short boards. Once you get right into it and you become quite advanced and confident with your ability, then you could probably even go down into something in the kind of under 5 foot range that a lot of the kind of the top guys are doing now, and haven't seen guys on pretty much like skimboard kind of style boards. Yeah, so yeah, just slowly work your way down and try to just take it slowly. Yeah.
So I've noticed then if you've got, so say for example you struggle getting to your feet, if you're more of an intermediate or a beginner surfer, and you're used to riding maybe like a 9 foot longboard or an 8 foot fun shape, I've seen a lot of people still surfing the same volume, but they've brought it down a couple of inches or even a foot or two. So that's kind of what you're doing, right? You're just keeping the volume maybe of your regular board, but just beefing it up. Yeah,
exactly. For instance, like my regular shortboard, say about 30 litres. So a 6'1" surfboard, and I basically, now that I feel confident, a little bit better on it than when I started, I'm down to like riding 4'6" with about 30 litres. So basically just compressing all that foam, hiding the foam somewhere. Because the main thing is that you've got enough enough paddle speed, because once you're actually up on the foil, the board, it's just something to stand on, because you're basically surfing the foil. So it kind of becomes irrelevant. The only thing is, the shorter the board and the shorter the board you ride, you can say it becomes really responsive. If you've got like a really long board, it's like think of it trying to turn a Malibu as opposed to like a little kind of fish or something like that.
Same concept.
Yeah, same concept, probably just a little bit like slower response rate when you're trying your turns. But yeah.
Cool. And so then that goes to the type of waves we're looking for. So I've seen guys on YouTube and everything just cruising down massive waves and surfing even like regular breaks, but then to learn, like I've also heard you just got to look for the smallest little bubbly whitewater thing, like barely even a wave, right? Is that what we're looking for?
100%, mate. Like that's number one when you're looking to start foil boarding. A wave can't be small enough or fat enough. That's kind of my rule of thumb. When I first started, I tried to go out when I was 3 foot, thinking I'd be fine, but it's just too much speed and it's too dangerous. The board flips really easy. The foil kind of buck you off wave after wave. But yeah, you want basically a really slow wave, as fat as you can get it, as slow as you can get it. Anything with a little bit of steepness, it's like not your friend. So you're going for small and fat, and then slowly progressing into a little bit bigger waves. And it's still that's the best thing about foil boarding is, like, I love surfing really good barrels back on the Gold Coast where I'm from. But then I rub my hands together when it gets 1 to 2 foot and sloppy, because it's just you're looking for total opposite waves. On a regular shortboard you look for the barrely waves, and if you try to ride a foil board in barrely waves, you get absolutely flogged and you can really injure yourself. So as fat as you can get it. Nice big open face, no one around.
Yeah, and so that would then translate into your paddling ability, right? So if you're a pretty average paddler, you'd want a bigger board to catch the waves, but if you're a decent paddler, you can go small, right?
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. If you're like a pretty average surfer, you haven't surfed too much, ideally you want probably a Maui. You can start on a sup. I see a lot of the suppers using on the Gold Coast now, and they can even just get to their feet and they're just already up on their feet and they kind of paddle into waves and then they up on the foil in no time, which is a pretty good way to do it because you kind of, I guess it limits you. You wouldn't be riding a sup in waves over kind of 3-4 foot.
Yeah.
They should be quite limited or something.
All right, and then the other thing I've just seen a whole bunch of variation on is the foil. They come in all different sizes and shapes and stuff. So as a beginner, what's kind of the general rules of thumb for what type of foil I'm looking for?
There are a lot of foils out there now already coming on the market, and a lot of different sizes. So you've got obviously the size of the foil, the width, the length, and then you've got the mast size as well. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a little bit fresh to it myself, but from my experiences, and I've spoken to some of the guys who are basically leading the sport. So when it comes to foils, it's going to probably start with depending on what board you got. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, like my little foil here, it's actually a large Nash foil, but you probably wouldn't put this foil on a SUP or a mini Mel or something like that. You want something with a kind of a wider kind of
even bigger.
Yeah, an even bigger like surface area, so you can kind of pump and it get easier to kind of get back at the back. It makes sense that if you've got a bigger surface area, you're going to get up on the plane a lot easier, and it's going to take a lot less work to kind of hop around.
Yep.
So, and then obviously when you become a little bit more advanced and you want a little bit more high speed, you're probably going to maybe a little bit smaller foil and lengthen out the mast as well. Basically, the mast, this one's a 55 centimetre mast, and yet there's not too much room for error, so to speak, when you're pumping. You can imagine when you're pumping, it's going up and down the foil when you're close to the surface, and you'll see a lot of surfers, and they do it, they'll dip and they'll kind of nosedive.
Is that because the foil comes just out of the water just a little bit?
Yeah, it's just the borderline of the surface, and all of a sudden it'll just drop and want to just like dive basically.
Yeah.
So if you've got like a little bit longer mast, it's going to probably eliminate that diving of the foil. So yeah, I guess to begin, I'd probably even start with, you could say, with a little bit longer mast, maybe 65 centimetre at least, and kind of a pretty big foil.
Yeah.
And then once you become a little bit more advanced, you drop down in foil size, and you might even want to extend the mast a little bit more for really high speed stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so generally, like the wider the foil, then it's going to respond a little quicker. So it's lifting like a bigger board. A SUP would have a bigger foil, so it lifts a bigger weight out, and then the little ones, more high speed, they're going to be able to keep that planing area, huh? That's the way they're designed.
Yeah, and because the bigger the foil too, it wants to kind of, like you see, rise upwards as well, rise to the surface, and the smaller the foil, like you can hold it down, because a lot of it, when you're with the weight distribution, a lot of the time you're just trying to keep the foil underwater by putting all your weight forward, and if you've got less foil there, you can probably keep it a little bit more even keeled.
All right, so I've got the board, I've got the waves. Then what I'm really curious about now is what sort of things from a surfing background are going to transfer into foiling. So even just paddling out, so is it going to feel different paddling the board compared to a regular surfboard with the big foil on the bottom, and kind of duck dive and stuff like that?
Yeah, so there's a few subtle differences, like not real major differences, but obviously paddling, you've got a 10 kilo kind of extra bit of metal on the bottom of your board, so there's a little bit more stabilising to be done. You kind of lock off your coil a little bit more when you're paddling. You definitely feel it. Like I really fatigue after about 40 minutes or to an hour max. I'm absolutely cooked and I have to go in. So you could say it's probably a little bit more strenuous on the body that way. And then paddling out, obviously, usually your typical fin setup might be 10 centimetres, and now you've got something 55 to 75 centimetres below you. So there's a high chance when you first get on you get your foil and you paddle out, you're going to be like hitting the sandbank or clipping the reef without you even really unexpectedly, and I did it several times. So you just want to make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of distance, at least having a lot of water underneath you when you're paddling out. Otherwise, you'll find yourself kind of submerged on a bit of sand, getting dragged along a bit of reef.
So it is essentially like you're just towing an anchor. So you do feel that bit of drag, huh?
Yeah, you feel a bit more drag, not like substantially, but you can definitely feel something else is there. And again, like that stability thing too. Yeah, you're just trying to stabilise a lot more, and I guess that's why you fatigue a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then once I've caught the wave, I'm catching the wave just the same as surfing, right? So I'm just catching it, a little bit of white water, a little roll in, catching the wave, and then when you're learning to surf, you're kind of laying down and you're feeling your stability first before you get to your feet. Yeah. But on these, should I be doing that, or should I try to pop up as quick as I can? Is everything the same as surfing, or is there a bit of feeling it out first?
When I first got taught, they actually told me that it's similar to like when you first learn to surf, you would go to a surfing shop, they make you kind of take off in the whitewash and do a few little like pop-ups and things like that.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, you can like start by doing that, just getting 1 foot whitewashes and trying to hold the nose down. But as soon as you get like a little bit of speed, you'll feel you don't have enough weight to hold that nose down. You kind of get like fly up and get bucked off the side. So
sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. So my suggestion would be is try to get to your feet as quick as you can, and then have all your weight over your front leg and chest over knee, and don't try to go. Because usually with regular surfing, we tend to do it's pretty like back footed. You could say all our drive, especially on our bottom turns, comes from our back foot, and naturally we want to do that on the foil board.
Yeah.
But you'll see a lot of people they go to get their feet, and then all of a sudden it's like flips and it bucks them off. And it happened to me several times, and it will happen to all your learners out there too.
Yeah.
But
so it's more front foot.
Exactly. As soon as you get to your feet, you basically want the chest over your knee, staying like really nice and low. And then you don't want to just transfer your weight straight up. You want everything to be nice and subtle. And like once you get down to that and you feel comfortable, and so the whole bottom of the board is actually on the surface of the ocean, then you can start slowly transferring your weight back. Everything's got to be really subtle movement. That's probably the word with foil boarding when you start turning. It's just subtle like weight transfers on the heel and toe, similar to kind of snowboarding. It's really subtle. It's not like surfing where you throw your body around, you go to the lip and throw everything. Everything's kind of, you could say, nice and a little bit more compacted throughout the whole process. Yeah. So yeah, ideally, yeah.
All right, that's good then. So that's sort of all transfers. So you're catching the wave, the white water like normal. You get up, but now you're just leaning forward as much as you can, feeling the foil come out.
Yeah.
The turning and stuff, as he says, is nice and subtle. And then I've seen heaps of people pumping. So that's like to keep with the swell, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
is that the same as the surfing technique, or is it a little bit different?
Yeah, so you're pumping. Once you like start feeling out the foil and you start going across, and you see a lot of people start heading back out to sea to save the shoulders, which is a good thing to do. Yeah, that's probably the next step. Once you start going, like horizontal across the wave face, you're probably like looking over your shoulder what's happening behind you, the next wave, and then that's when you're going to start pumping back out to sea and save the arms. But that technique is pretty similar to basically speed building on a regular shortboard as well. Like typical surfing is just like where your kind of arms go, kind of your board's going to follow, arms at the front, or your weight's over your front foot again. So you'll be basically pumping, chest over knee, up and down, arms at the front, and then you'll start getting a sense of like where you're supposed to be on the foil too. Once you start, at the start you're like, oh, this is impossible, and you'll kind of dive, and that's what I was talking about before, because the foil will rise and then all of a sudden it'll dip. That's because the top of the foil is too close to the top of the surface of the ocean. So then you'll find like a nice happy medium where you'll be kind of pumping kind of in the middle of the foil, in between. And sometimes it does. It is really tricky to pump when it's very choppy ocean. So that's another thing is when you're learning, I highly suggest that you try nice, super clean conditions. Not too windy. Nice, clean offshore conditions is like ideal for that.
So even the surface of the water changing does change what's going on underneath the foil.
Exactly, because you can think, the ocean kind of. There's like when there's a lot of chop, there's little troughs all over the place, and obviously when you're pumping, you hit a trough, you're going to just dive straight away. But then if it's a nice kind of pretty flat, even surface, when it's nice and glassy, it's a lot less unpredictable basically. You can kind of see what's going to happen pretty easier.
Nice. And I guess the big thing then is now falling off. Like you see and you hear all these nightmare stories about people falling off and that the boards are crazy dangerous. Then other people have said it's not really that dangerous if you sort of go with the board. I'm trying to find out really, how to fall properly.
Yep.
Safety is like the biggest thing when you're learning, obviously.
Yep.
Has you got any tips and things for how to fall off when I've got control? Like even if I do really well and I want to fall off, or when I just have no control, what's the best way to do it?
Well, let's just start with safety straight up. Like before you're even going out there, picking. Obviously, we talked about being a suitable wave, nothing too sucky because you can like really hurt yourself if it's a sucky wave. Do not try to foil board it like a barreling wave. You get really hurt. Number two, you want to, pretty much no one out except the buddy to keep an eye on you if you do injure yourself.
Yeah.
And then it comes to like, if you actually want to protect yourself a little bit, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to kind of land on your foil. Okay, there's no bullshit about it. You can injure yourself, and there's a high chance you will. Cop a few bumps and bruises along the way. I did, and all my mates who do it at home, they've done it as well. So,
and I have noticed though, at least it's not razor sharp or anything. I mean, they're pretty dull edges, and it's not as bad as I thought when I first looked at them.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's still.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing what I talked about. Like, even though it's not razor sharp, but if you're going 40 kilometres, 50 kilometres an hour, and you run into somebody, a swimmer, it's going to cause substantial damage. So stay clear of swimmers and other surfers, because other surfers kind of get pissed off anyway. But, so when it comes to falling off, you just want to stay well clear of the foil. So when I'm on a wave, and even if it's a little bit too steep at the start, I'm arming and arming as you go, and I start getting lifted up, I'll just throw the board away and I'll like head the other. Same thing when you feel it, you're a little bit unsure of if it's going to buck you off, I'll just dive off to the side and just stay well clear of it. It's sometimes it's like unpredictable, and there's no way of avoiding landing on it basically. So you're kind of just trying to like land flat where you get hit a bit of the surface of the ocean, so it takes a little bit of the impact.
It would be like surfing where if you do have some form of control, you should sort of fall back into the wave.
Well, at the end of a wave, sometimes I'll do that especially if it becomes very shallow. The best technique I could say would be like just basically like flicking, like going your tail and flicking the board away from you, and you kind of drop flat onto the wave. So that basically makes sure that the foil goes above the water, so it's not going to like snap your foil off with it on the sand or the reef, and you're still staying pretty clear of the foil as well. Like I said, just if you're a bit unsure, just stay clear and jump the opposite wave wherever it's going.
Abandon ship.
Abandon ship.
Like it's going to go.
I mean, once you become a little bit more advanced, you kind of start understanding what way you're going to get bucked off or whatever. Especially when you start like leaning into turns and things like that. That's when it gets a little bit weird, and you get a bit confident. You want to push it a bit harder. And then the thing is, you put on rail, all of a sudden your body goes one way and the board wants to go the other, and that's where you look like a quick little flip, and then you're kind of like, oh my god, this thing's gonna kill me. But yeah, like I said, if you start off, maybe it's worth getting an impact vest. If you want to be really safe, you can chuck a helmet on, like a Gath helmet. But like I guess my words of advice: if you're a pretty average surfer, 100% wear an impact vest at very least, just because there's a high chance you will hit hit the foil with part of your torso in the first couple of sessions.
All right. So you didn't leave me in a whole lot of confidence at the end. That's probably the last question I really needed to ask you. But everything else seems like at least translates fairly similarly to surfing. Like at least catching the waves, standing up, and then the weight distribution forward's different. So that's going to be new for me. But falling off, I think I can handle that. If it's going to feel like it's going to throw me, I'm just bailing. I'm out.
Stay wide.
All right.
It does sound like a little bit dangerous, a few things. But I'm not here to kind of bullshit. There's a few little things that to be cautious about. But once you get up on that foil, you'll be so addictive, and like you'll be gliding, and it just feels like nothing else before. Like as soon as I did it, I got up on the foil for like 2 or 3 seconds. I knew I was like going to be so addicted to the sport. And it was like that next week. I was like, I'm going online and buying myself one straight away, and like I'm actually like rubbing my hands together now when it's like 1 foot. I'm so pumped to get out there.
So you're maybe even foiling more than you even surfing now, hey?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, I love foiling so much. Well, and I guess too because it's so challenging. It's like maybe like something like golf. You compare it to golf. it's, for me, it was like, learning how to surf again. So it's so much fun learning a new sport, and I guess that's why you see so many other pro surfers right now. John's riding and Bolchi, I don't know, Parko's been getting into them, Big Fanning. Everyone's like into them now because it's just such a challenge, but it's an exciting challenge. And once you get it, you read a wave differently. You're not looking at the wave. You're actually on a wave, but you're not looking at that wave. You're looking at the wave behind it and the wave after that. So you're kind of surfing 3 or 4 waves in one. So I think that's the kind of the part of the sport that draws everyone to it. It's just like the way you can read a wave so differently, and don't have to use those shoulders, especially when you get old, like long in the tooth like myself. So.
That's what I've heard. Just everyone's so addicted to them. So do you think it's going to take me one session? It's going to take me a couple? Like this is the first time for me, So.
Well, I've seen you surf, Matt. You're not too bad on the board.
Oh, thanks, mate.
No, I think if you persevere and you've got the right conditions, like we find a good little wave today, and it's 1 foot and nice and fluffy, I'm sure we'll get you on the glide and you'll be cruising in no time, mate.
Oh, I'm so pumped for it.
So.
Dude, thank you so much.
No problem.
Let's do it. All right, we're out there. Come on. But I'm not going to lie, I'm still pretty nervous. That feeling is insane. That wasn't even a wave. It just kept floating. That was amazing. Like, I've surfed my whole life, and that was one of the most amazing sessions I've ever had. I've never felt anything like that. Just the tiniest little wave, and board just takes off, and it's so smooth. Like, this has opened up a whole new world of waves. I understand why everyone's addicted to it now. I'm fully addicted. It's so good. Let's try. Let's go again tomorrow.